Hello, good morning, and welcome to Sunrise Daily this lovely Monday morning. I'm Chamberlain Usof.
I can't believe it's Monday again. But get up, rise and shine. Good morning. I'm Baukbe Ogu Yusuf. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, what a weekend it was for a lot of people, and probably this week also will define so many things. So we do know elections held in Akwa Ibom, Benue, and Rivers, local government elections. So they're all grappling now to ensure that elections actually hold so that they can get the allocation for those states. Because, I mean, the law is if the states do not conduct those elections, no funds will be allocated to the local government areas. So yes, we'll focus on that, but it's a business day, and so yeah, have a look at the Central Business District. So an area bustling with activity. So whichever, wherever you are in any part of the country, yes, people are actually off on Mondays, you know. So
Well,
depending on what you do.
They must have been working through the weekend for them to get Monday off.
Yeah, so this is why we look to the economy. People are looking to see what economic policies are going to come up next and how do they adjust. I mean, people wake up every day looking at the pump price and see, well, this crude scenario, is it going to have any impact? They even ask, so where is this Dangote petrol that they've been talking about all this while? So many questions for so many people. So typology to kickstart the week, what better way than to give you that Central Business District here in Abuja.
Yeah, I think I've been staring to see what buildings I can recognize, and immediately sticking out like two sore thumbs there, the NNPC towers. There are 4 of them. If you look to the right of your television screen, you'll see that 2 have just seen a recent facelift. Yes, with that shiny black glass right there. The remaining 2 of the 4 towers are yet to see that same facelift. But that's what you can see right there along Constitution Avenue, which is a road that comes straight from the Federal Capital Territory entrance right into the city. Yes, when you get to the city gate, it forms a Y. One is called Constitution Avenue, and the other is called Independence Avenue. Very interesting name. So the one you're seeing right now, that central artery, is the Constitution Avenue. And yes, you can see the NNPC towers. I don't know what other buildings you can recognize, Chamberlain, but I do know that there are quite a number of ministries also along that road. The Ministry of Budget and National Planning is there. The Ministry of Transport is along that road as well. But you have to keep looking. Tell us what else you recognize. And maybe you can also have a guess as to maybe when this was shot, because I believe that on Monday it should look a lot busier, shouldn't it?
Yeah, and we expect a lot of things to also kick on. But you know, the police always tell us, if you see something, say something. As a matter of fact, they also have it pinned on their Twitter, the X handle. So they put up some numbers there, and they put up a sign there, no chance, one chance, all those kind of stuff. So they just want you to speak up when you see anything going wrong. And so this particular clip was just gotten from, residents, but those who were around that vicinity in Owerri, the most capital, were able to capture this activity with the police and some citizens over there. So this is not exactly new to a lot of Nigerians in terms of what they take, what they endure, what they experience from some policemen who are in different parts of the country, depending on where you are. This brutality, police brutality, once again rearing its ugly head, sticking out like a sore thumb. I know that this particular police, the hierarchy, this IGP's tenure, they've been talking a lot about trying to see how they could stamp this kind of behavior out from society, police treating citizens as though don't even know which words to use for all of that. So this, we expect the force public relations officer to also kick in, swing in, and see, because these persons who are doing this, we need to see them at the force headquarters facing the music, as we have seen some of the ones previously. This behavior is reprehensible. It is totally unacceptable. So you just cannot treat citizens in this manner. It was just last week we were talking about all kinds of persons who wear uniforms. Just give them a little uniform, and then citizens are like, they treat them like as if you're dirt, or you don't even, of no significance. So this is very, very, very wrong. And the thing about this is it could have degenerated. Persons there could have come together and pounced on the policemen there, notwithstanding whether they were armed or not, because you can't keep doing it. Because look, he wasn't even arrested, he wasn't even put in a vehicle, they just beat him up and then left him there and drove off. So what's the point? Why that in the first place? So whoever those police people are, whoever they are, of course the police wants to have a clean and improved and better image, which is what they say they're working towards. That's why they say if you see something, say something. So now that this is out there in the public, we expect the police authorities to act decisively on this kind of matter.
Well, indeed, Chamberlain, I do know that the Police Complaints Response Unit, the CRU division of the police, has been doing some work in terms of trying to let citizens understand that this particular action is totally unacceptable, and when it happens, that should be forwarded to their units. Now, we understand that in every state, because, I mean, you just mentioned that you're hoping to see them at the force headquarters, but in every state, the spokesperson, the police spokesperson in each state is responsible. It oversees the complaint response unit for that particular state. So it would be worthwhile to ask the spokesperson in Owerri to say, what have you seen so far? Have you seen this clip? Has this been reported to the CRU in your unit? And what has been done about it? If you haven't, is it possible for you? Because that's the first line of action. It is when we are not getting responses or when nothing has been done, that's when it should be escalated to the force headquarters. So I think that this is notice number one to the Police Complaint Response Unit situated in Owerri, the Imo State capital, to say this happened within Imo State, where you oversee. This is a complaint that has now come to the public. It has not been, I don't know if it's been reported formally, but when you see something, you are supposed to do something. So we'll ask the spokesperson there to please take note of this. And I think that within the next 3 days or so, we should be seeing something, perhaps if not on social media platforms, at least in the news as well, to say these officers have been apprehended, the circumstances around this has been unraveled, because it does look to me, I'm looking very intently at the video, and I saw that, when the young man was leaving, he looked like he gave them something, and that was what excused him, or that was what enabled him to leave that particular environment before the policemen drove off. It's unclear what would have led to this, but clearly you can hear that people are shocked, they are unhappy with what they're witnessing, and they think that something very unjust has gone down. You can hear that from the expressions of the person filming and also the people who are looking around, who think that this cannot be a good way for police officers to behave. So the responsibility now lies with the police spokesperson in Owerri to, find out where this has happened, to bring those officers to book, and maybe the Commissioner of Police, I want to show what example they would like to make out of these officers who continue to give the force a bad name.
And these are the kind of things that people see, and they refuse to volunteer information to the police if they need help or anything. These are the kind of things they see, and they always say, look, when you say police is your friend, they say, no way, I don't want to have a friend like this. These are the kind of things that people see. As a matter of fact, if you go to parts of the country, you see several checkpoints And then now they keep saying, look, those checkpoints are just money-making points, basically, because if you go there, what's the rate of crime? Does it have any impact whatsoever? So these are the narratives that they need to actively work on to make sure that you stamp out that impression from the populace who think that, prove them wrong. So it's something that we think the authorities need to address, and real quick. So that said, let's go ahead and take you through some of the dailies now. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the dailies here this morning. And the Guardian newspaper, concerns over Naira's fair value after CBN's $2 billion lifeline. So that is the big lead on the front page of The Guardian here today. And then on to Vanguard, LG polls. PDP has lost Rivers. BOT chair Nwabara laments. That is the big lead on the front page of Vanguard newspaper. And then they have a lot of writers. Says party rocked its own boat, ignored warnings. We've uncovered plans to unleash violence on LG headquarters, Fubara. And it goes on the front page. This Nigeria, food prices still high, suffocating. Farmers, traders, consumers lament, urge Tinubu to intervene urgently in crisis of survival. And then at the bottom strip, Serap to president, withhold allocations from states with non-credible LG polls. Also at the bottom strip right there. New Telegraph, Israel-Hezbollah conflict. Many Nigerians unwilling to leave Lebanon, says FG, as government makes plans to send C-130 aircraft to Beirut. Only 500 out of 2,000 registered in Middle East nation have indicated readiness to leave, ascribed to the ministry. And then beneath that lead story, NAS will tinker with existing laws to guarantee full LG autonomy, ascribed to Akpabio. So that's what you also find right there. Daily Trust, how multi-billion naira illicit arms entered Nigeria 23 times in 7 years. Trend portends grave danger, ascribed to experts. Investigation ongoing, says Customs. NSA's office takes custody of seized ammunition. So there are questions as to the previous ammunition that has been seized over time. What becomes of all of those? The Daily Times, Serap to Tinubu, withhold allocation to states failing to conduct credible LG polls. The Daily Independent is on a different narrative entirely. Bring debt capital to life to tame appetite for borrowing, FG urged. And then at the bottom strip, Nigeria's low savings fueling interest rate hike. That's according to Kalu, Ideka Kalu right there. The blueprint, protest greets outcome of Rivers, Benue, Akwa Ibom, LG polls. The Business Day focuses on the economy, why Naira stability hinges on 2 million barrels per day of oil. Those are some of the lead stories here today. Have a look at the Abuja Inquirer, VIO, FCT to lose billions over court judgment. And then the riders, Abuja residents hail restrictions, FCTA malls appeal. And then above that list, the core members worry over delayed 77,000 naira new allowance. The Nigerian Tribune, New Rivers begins from now, ascribed to Fubara. At the bottom strip, responds to the economy, a question many have been asking over time. Now the CBN is responding. It says, why we floated the Naira, as ascribed to the CBN governor. Gives scorecard after 1 year in office. Mops up 1.335 trillion naira as money supply hits 107.1 trillion naira this morning.
Well, quite a lot to digest when you look at the papers this morning. You know, they're as varied as the faces of Nigerians.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when you look at the headlines. But for me this morning, I'd like to highlight the front page of Daily Trust, which is a concern that usually crosses my mind anytime I see, you know, visuals of, you know, you just see the story. Customs intercepts illicit cache of arms, and you see, you know, the amount of arms we're talking about. Maybe they're in their hundreds, sometimes thousands. A lot of guns, a lot of bullets, and they caught this one. Look at the front page of Daily Trust. How multi-billion naira illicit arms entered Nigeria 23 times in 7 years. And a number of people always wonder, for everyone that we catch, how many did we miss? I don't know if that question occurs to you, if that question goes through your mind.
They've been catching for a long time.
We've been catching
for a long time.
Former
late NSA, it just skipped me now. But then you also had this, just this last
Which
government.
former NSA? That's okay.
No.
Which
that died in a helicopter crash along with the
Azazi.
along with the governor of
Owaye Azazi.
Kaduna State. Yes. So during that time too, there was a lot that was caught that they seized. Where are they? What happens? This time, the last government, Buhari's government, we saw a lot of them. Where are they?
23 times in 7 years.
So what is going on?
So big question, what do we do first with the ones that we catch? And then, are there others that have passed through which we missed? Because don't forget, I mean, once or twice, these things have actually left the port. Some of them were caught on the road. So you ask, you know, the NASA was through timely information, you know, that's how they were able to stop them in their tracks. But then you wonder, the 1 or 2 trucks slip through. It is something that should, I don't know whether it should give us sleepless nights, but I think it should put us, you know, in a state of vigilance, in a place where we are eyes wide open. You know, we don't take things for granted. You don't sleep in on your security. A number of people who live in Lagos and Abuja, you know, I think that there is some relative safety in these areas. But if you just step outside the vicinity of these places, you know, once you actually do feel like, my God, anything can happen here. And I don't know what, you know, how quickly state authorities will respond. So as much as possible, while I know that, you know, there are many places for leakages, I will plead with our security agencies. When it comes to matters of armor and ammunition, let us, you know, drop all sentiments. Let us understand that this is danger for our country. And let no amount of bribe or no amount of, you know, attempt to compromise our security agencies or agents, you know, be successful. I hope there's no wishful thinking. And I hope that please are not falling on deaf ears, because the more they enter, the more our unity, the more our safety as citizens, the more this country, the entirety called Nigeria, will be undermined, and the potential for it to not exist, you know, will be very high. So I want to imagine that, you know, whilst a number of things we can look the other way, I'm not saying that if it's not supposed to be allowed, some things have lower consequences. But some things, when you decide to turn a blind eye and say, no, I cannot fight my oga or whatever it is, the consequences are deeper, not just for you, but for your children's children. So think about that when next you are tempted to turn a blind eye. While this is commendable that we have been able to catch, you know, this number of cash 23 times in 7 years, I still think that vigilance, they say, is the price of freedom.
Well, I don't know if this group of people had thought about the consequences of their action over the years. They might have conducted themselves differently. I'm talking about what you see on the front page of the Abuja Inquirer. Remember last week, the news also came through where the Federal High Courts, which sat in Abuja, barred the Directorate of Road Traffic Services. You know those chaps that wear black and white, and then the back you see DRTS. So themselves and VIO, the court barred them from confiscating or imposing fines on motorists. Now that headline says that VIO, FCTA to lose billions over court judgments. So, but look at the rider there. I think that's quite instructive. Abuja residents hail restrictions. Well, I tell you, it's not just Abuja residents. This is a nationwide healing, you know, on the part of that order, because they've been terrorizing people for far too long. These chaps who are in uniforms, if they hadn't thought about the consequences of their actions, if they had conducted themselves decently all this while over the years, perhaps it might not have come to this. But look, don't try to blackmail us. You can lose billions, but find a way to do your businesses. It just says you cannot be the judge and the jury in your own case. So it goes against the principle of natural justice. So if you cannot think about a way to do it, then why are you in that office in the first place?
Shomali, don't forget, I mean, just to play devil's advocate here, these people, one of the reasons why they're as aggressive as they are is because they don't get paid by government. They get paid from what they raise.
Yeah, but...
So if they don't raise anything, they don't get paid.
No, I get that, but they're not saying, you can't say you want to raise money and then you violate the law. Can I go and steal and be an armed robber and say, I don't have money, I have to get money?
All they're doing,
there's a law.
All they're doing is stopping vehicles, any type of vehicle, and saying, have you done your papers?
No, that's not all.
But I think that, you know...
They do more than that. That's why the court ruled on it.
They've gone about it the wrong way, in the sense that they were created for a reason. The Vehicle Inspectorate was created to ensure that we have cars that are serviceable on our roads. You know, cars, roadworthiness. What exactly does roadworthiness mean? You know, sometimes you're driving and you see a vehicle that clearly has no business being, even with your ordinary eyes, you know, has no business being on the road. That vehicle is not harassed. But yours that you might need to, you know, put some machines through before you can even, is the one that they will stop. So, you know, there have been questions as to what exactly has been the yardstick for measurement, and that if they were really effective, the amount of vehicles we see on our road, we shouldn't see. But this is the situation. This is where we are right now. Don't forget, jobs are also at stake.
No, I don't. You see,
it's not blackmail.
No.
Let's find out.
Jobs are not.
How many VIO officials are we looking at here?
I don't think jobs are at stake.
You don't think so?
I don't think jobs are at stake.
Because if they lose billions,
they're not losing billions.
How are they going to pay them their salaries?
Losing billions by harassing people on the road? No, I don't agree. There are ways you can do this and get more money than you're getting. If I have those knowledge in terms of how you can get more money, how much? Look, there are several things.
Maybe you should consult a consultant.
This is not a big deal. You can get more money.
Consultant, VIO.
It's not a big deal.
But that's the headline. I mean,
that's not Nigerians out there. They will open they will come to you and give you ideas. But you know what happens usually in this part of the world. But there are several ways to do it. This is the 21st century. Don't tell me you have to arrest someone, you have to hold somebody by the jugular, stop them from going to work. Come on. No. Well, unfortunately, the court has ruled. Who are we to challenge that? So,
well, how convenient, Timberlane.
I can't disobey court order.
You see FCT and Moll's appeal there. Who knows?
Wish them luck. All right, guys. We're back in a moment. Stay on with us.
After the local government election and official declaration of results, the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission issues certificates of return to the newly elected council chairman in the state.
For the avoidance of doubt,
the commission had earlier declared the results for 22 chairmanship seats on Saturday evening, the same day the poll was conducted, suspending announcement for Eche local government area and all 319 councillorship seats. Before issuing the certificates of return, the chairman of the commission announces the pending results, declaring the Action Alliance candidate, Uzadin Mawafo, as winner of the election for Eche local government. He also commended the peaceful conduct of the electorate during the election.
Action People's Party, APP, 22 local government. Action Alliance, AA, 1, which is Eche. Total AGS 23.
The RSIEC chairman then proceeds to issue the certificates of return to all the 23 chairmen-elect and who are accompanied by their deputies.
Elegom Emeka Enanuku is the vice chairman-elect. Congratulations.
Thereafter, the chairman-elect moved to the council chambers of the government house for swearing in by Governor Similaye Fubara. On hand to witness the ceremony is the Bauchi State Governor and chairman of PDP Governors Forum, Bala Mohammed. Others in attendance are River State political leaders, members of the State Executive Council, National Assembly members and family members of the chairman-elect. In 3 batches, the 23 chairmen-elect comprising 21 men and 2 women are called to take their oath, sign the register and share a ceremonial handshake with Governor Similaye Fubara. In his address, the governor expressed joy at the conclusion of the process while appreciating the democratic nature of the election.
We will return all the glory to God Almighty. Let me also appreciate the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And that is the truth. The President, without his support, I also believe strongly, and every one of you will also agree with me, that we won't be here. So I want to appreciate him for being a Democrat.
He, however, raises the allegation that his opponents are mobilizing 20 persons per political unit to confront the new chairman at the council secretariats on Monday.
I'm aware that they are mobilizing 20 people per unit to go and confront you tomorrow when you resume in your local government headquarters. But please, if they are coming with violence, avoid them. The peace of this state is too important to us.
With the certificates of return now in their possession and swearing-in ceremony conducted, the chairman will assume office immediately to begin their 3-year tenure.
All right, yes, indeed. Those are the issues that we will be discussing this morning. 2 gentlemen are joining us to weigh in on the matter. Senator Lee Maeba, who was an aspirant for the governorship seat, joins us. We also have Honorable Solomon Bob, a member of the House of Reps, also joining us, both of them from Port Harcourt. Gentlemen, good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today. Honorable Solomon, let me start with you, because we just heard the governor speaking about having sworn them in, and for a lot of people, it appears as though it's done and dusted. So the next phase is, look, if anybody has any grounds whatsoever, they head to the courts such that there can be peace. What do you think about that?
Thank you, Chamberlain. First, I'm talking to you from London. I'm not in Port Harcourt now, but I've been following developments in my state, and I'm utterly embarrassed to have a man like Similaye Fubara as governor of Rivers State. It's shameful, the kind of regime of division, conflict, acrimony, and hatred he's sown in Rivers State. This is utterly embarrassing. The so-called election cannot stand. It's not an election by any standard.
Why?
Okay. Because you know, and this is my problem with some of you journalists. In an attempt to be fair, you basically enable and pander to all manner of stupidity. You are aware that the election had no proper notice. By law, the RISIA should have given 90 days notice before election. No such notice was given. As a consequence of that, a court, the Federal High Court, ruled that through a judgment order, not an interim order, not an executive order, a judgment order, an order consequence upon the judgment of the court, that INEC should not release voter register to RISIA. So ask yourself, with which register they complete the election? There was none. It was a proper and utter charade what happened in Rivers State. And I'm ashamed that people in Nigeria are watching, because in Nyesom Wike, What I see in Rivers State is proxy war against PK. I wouldn't let it stand. All these article elements and all this obedience, so-called obedience, they have somehow found a convergence and using Timlai Fubara as a lightning rod to fight Wiki. Elections they lost before, they hold Wiki accountable for all their losses. That election was no election. Where did it happen? We have over 4,000 voting units in Rivers State. It didn't happen in up to 1,000 units. So how could we put an election? That was just about maybe 1% of the voting areas. No election. It was an utter charade. And this man has been doubling down on acts of illegality, brigandage, lawlessness, impunity. This is the reason why I sponsored the bill in the House of Reps to remove the so-called immunity from governors. Because it's crazy. Where on earth do you have a governor have the immunity from criminal and civil prosecution? Anywhere. There's no one. No country in the whole world. I've been around the world a bit, my brother. There's no country that it happens. That is why this character has the guts to do what he's doing in Rivers State. I'm ashamed, the Rivers man, to see what's going on in Rivers State. This man has demeaned us and diminished the whole idea of governance. He doesn't know what democracy is all about. He doesn't understand it.
Listen more.
All right, so Honorable Bob, I mean, yeah, we hear you, but I'd like to push back on some of your earlier narrative about journalists going on and pandering to some of the words you use, which I can't repeat. But you think maybe you don't understand the way journalists function. They are called reporters.
I do.
No,
I do.
Just
My
a minute.
I do.
No, just a minute. They are called reporters. They report what happens. The law, we're not expected to descend into the arena. So if politicians want us to support them, there's nothing we can do about that. So we give them opportunity to speak. That's why we have you and the senator to speak about your perspective from what happened. So that is what we do. So if others descend, we cannot. So just to put that on record. So because you can't say that they pander to all kinds of whatever words. No. If the law, the judgment has been given, that's why you're here to speak to it. We're not party to the suit. So that's why you and Senator are here to speak to it. And I don't think both of you will be on the same page. So can people say you're pandering to what? It doesn't work that way.
No,
right,
listen.
So, let me bring in Senator. Don't worry, you will still have time. You still speak a little more. So you've spoken of, you say it's a charade. It's not the way it should go. But Senator Lee Maiba also joining us virtually this morning on the same matter. Senator, you heard him say there that this is a clear disregard of what the judge has said about how the election should go. And this is a clear violation. And from his submissions, the governor is not leading by example. How do you respond to that, Senator? Okay, I think the senator's network is kind of frozen. But Honorable Bob, if you could shed a little more light on that, because we've heard even the governor himself say that no. Okay, I think the senator is back. Okay, Senator, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. How are you, my brother?
Well, we're fine here. So please go ahead and let's get your perspective on. Honorable Bob says the governor is not clearly leading by example. It's a violation of the court order to have gone on with the elections.
Well, I am surprised at some of the language I'm hearing from my brother, but I don't want to treat issue with my brother. But everybody have a sense of patriotism. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
What I'm trying to say is that we have a very, very serious, sentence. Yeah, be patriotic. That is what is expected from every lawmaker. That is what is expected from every Nigerian. In this matter, I'm a citizen of Rivers State of Nigeria. What is happening in the state requires everybody to be very, very careful. I have not seen anywhere the governor have done anything wrong. In the first place, when a lawmaker is referring to a court to control, regulate, or stop an election, it's just an aberration. Because Section 15, Section 84, subsection 15 of the Electoral Act We clearly put it there that no court can regulate the conduct of an election. No court can stop an election. It is the electoral body that should regulate an election, fix date for election, which has been done. Why do we get this into the Electoral Act? We try to avoid a situation of what happened in the ABN, Association of Better Nigeria. I was in the Senate in 2006 where Otto Nzeribe brought this up when we were tinkering with the first Electoral Act. And how did they get to that? Because Otto Nzeribe led the Association of Better Nigeria in 1993, go to a Lagos High Court, obtain an injunction and stop a national election that the effect of that action devastated Nigeria. Abiola died. So many things happened that Nigeria would have been no more. So it was Anton Zeribe of blessed memory himself that came out to say, look, if you are doing this electoral act, the first thing we should do is to put a clause that protects the election from ambitious judges, which is what we did then. Imagine if there was no provision in the Electoral Act now that stop a judge from stopping an election. What would be?
But Senator, did the judge say the election should not hold on? We thought that they just highlighted that, look, there are condition precedents that need to be fulfilled before the election holds.
That is the court cannot also regulate how any electoral body conducts election. It's completely out of the whim and caprices of a judge. The electoral body, INEC, cannot be controlled from the courtroom. Rip said the electoral body River cannot be controlled from the courtroom.
Well, Senator, your connection is we're losing a lot of what you're saying. All right, just give us a moment. We'll see if we could just correct that in a bit. But Honorable Bob, you've heard what the senator has said, the point that he's trying to make about what the law that he highlighted was trying to correct. And so he thinks that you're misinterpreting what is going on with those judgments. Honorable Bob, that's for you. If you can unmute.
Sure, yeah. I'm doing that. Two of you are speaking to each other's comments, so I could hardly hear what he was saying. And
what he's saying is that you are misinterpreting the laws.
It's okay. No. It was not a question of the court trying to stop election. No. It was about ensuring compliance with due process. The court never said there has no election. He only said you haven't followed the process leading to an election. Comply with the process, go on to your election. That's what the court said. It's not about ambushing a body duly authorized by law to perform a specific duty. It's about complying. If you don't comply, it's simple. It's simple enough. So what he's saying is utterly amusing to me. You cannot say you want to have an election and do not comply with the requisite processes, the notices that are required before election is held. How can you put that election? Because they say you have no election. What you're referring to by happening in the past has no bearing on what I'm talking about now. The court only said comply. These are the steps, leading up to election. Comply with them. If you don't do that, then you cannot say you have had an election. And to the extent that you haven't had an election in compliance with the law, that election is nullity. So maybe I say the difference in what I'm trying to explain to you. In any case, like I made the point earlier, we have a duty, all of us. Okay, we were talking about patriotism. There's nothing patriotic about what Fubara and those Egidimon are doing. They are in fact trying to set off the regime of anarchy, and that has been his behavior from the very beginning. Set up a regime of anarchy and lawlessness in Rivers State, using all manner of brigands. This is one man who is always in the news for the wrong reasons only. Only.
Senator Bob, I think that we need to separate the grounds you have against the governor from the local government elections which held on Saturday, because clearly it would also seem that the governor was, fighting against, many forces who did not want the elections to hold. And it would seem that what the people who did not want it to hold, had an uphill task on their hands, considering the fact that RISIEC, or will I say the State Electoral Commission, is within the confines of the state and, is legislated on, or, the laws that uphold it are within the confines of the State House of Assembly. But let me ask you, because we've seen over the years, and even only recently, the local government elections that have been conducted in many states, how the results always turn out in favor of the party in power at the state level. So were you really thinking that anything was going to be different from what was going to happen in Rivers State? Did you think that the situation of Rivers was going to be different? And if you did, what was informing your optimism?
Well, that is, what I thought would be outcome if a proper election was held, the difference in what I'm trying to explain to you guys. I want us, never in the history of Rivers State, have we breached the law leading up to election? No, we only follow the processes. We wanted this man just follow. Listen, one of the strange things about our democratic process at the moment is the ways in which elections are conducted at the local level. What you're saying is true, okay, but there is no clear brazen instance of where a man says, no, I'm going to disregard the law, I'm going to serve notice, okay? Whether the outcome will be will lead to A or B within is immaterial. First of all, follow the process. I'm trying to, draw out your attention. Instance, you said I'm making reference to things that don't quite serve, concern the present election that's happened in Rivers State. But I'm trying to give you instances of this man's, gross irresponsibility. I have never in my mind, in my entire life, seen a governor so irresponsible, so utterly lawless. And we have condoned this for going 1 year going to 2 now. Because it's Rivers State. There's no other state where this would happen and people close their eyes. What
exactly is the lawlessness that happened? That RISIEC did not give notice? Or what exactly is the lawlessness?
It's crucial. That is crucial, very crucial. In fact, that's what they call a sine qua non. If you don't do that, then you haven't really prepared for election. That is the notice to everyone to come and participate. 90 days. If you don't do that, then what is the point about election? You don't wake up and ambush people and say you have an election. There are no campaigns, nothing, no notices. You wake up one day and then distribute papers to a few of your colleagues, acolytes, and say you have an election. Then RISIEC rushes to somewhere at government house and announces results. That's what happened. It's an utter embarrassment. It doesn't matter who would have won. The point is that follow the process, okay, enshrined by law. It's simple enough. It's simple enough. Maybe you could still have won with whatever party he chose to run with.
And
okay?
Some people will say your grouse should not be with the governor. Your grouse should be with the Rivers State Electoral Commission.
Who controls that? I saw him on tape the other day saying he's the chairman of the commission. I saw similar to Fubara the other day saying he's chairman of RISIEC. He said so on TV. It's on tape. I'm sure you guys saw it. When I say that sometimes you get trying to find out to some of these sentiments, I was saying that because of what I know about what goes on in our country. Okay, I'm not trying to hold any of you responsible for what's going on, but sometimes when you're trying to deal with the facts, you must also be able to separate the fiction and come out with real facts. So he said he's chairman of the RISIEC. So what are you saying? He funds it. You saw him go the other day to invade the place with his men, and then he moved them to government house. Where was the result of this election announced? Was it a RISIEC office? It wasn't. It wasn't. So let us be, factual in dealing with this kind of situation. Rivers State now is, going through an anarchical phase. As I speak to you, I get reports that Omoma has been burnt down. Eleme is under fire. My local government area, Holder East, I hear that it's under siege now. I hear about deaths.
Honorable, I'm going to ask you to please hold your thoughts.
This is only the beginning.
We'll come back to you shortly, and we're going to be asking you what the way forward is. What should happen? I mean, clearly you're dissatisfied and you think that, the law has not been complied with. So what's going to be the next step? That's what we'll be asking when we come back from this break. Let's stay with us. Honorable Bob is still with us, joining us from London via Zoom, and Senator Lee Maiba is also here with us. And we're talking about the local government elections which held in River State over the weekend. So clearly, Senator, let me come to you if I may. There's certainly discontent, and naturally, I mean, usually even when elections are considered free and fair, you still have the parties having to work together to make peace. But in this situation where it looks like there's a lot of discontent, how do you think that those who are now said to have won these elections, how do you see them proceeding and moving forward?
Thank you very much, my sister Mope. The situation, we come here to discuss about the election. And I don't think the discussion is going in that way from my brother, Representative Bob. What we are supposed to talk about is how to ensure that people understand the need to show citizenship by supporting a system. But you come here, you spend 98% of your time abusing the governor, talking about how the governor is reckless and all those things. No, I'm not a product of that school of thought. That is not what I represent. I represent respecting constituted authorities, respecting anybody in authority, because if you don't respect the governor, quit me, you don't have respect for the state. There is nothing called anarchy here. We are talking about a process that has produced a result. The Supreme Court was very apt when it said that every state that does not have an elected local government by the 31st of October will lose local government income. And every state rushed. The issue of 90 days, not 90 days, those are semantics. The issue is that it is a judicial pronouncement that have come and that every state must comply. Every state is complying. It's not only in River State. This is not a peculiar case to River State. The governor also needs the support of every citizen.
But Senator, if I could just jump in, two things you mentioned there. You say every state needs to comply with the law, yeah. But in the meantime, they have critical committee chairman, even when the court had ruled that no such thing should happen. And if you say it's semantics, isn't that a major requirement that has to be complied with before elections are held? You were a lawmaker. Those are the things that were clearly stated.
Now listen to me, Chamberlain. Chamberlain, I did not intend to contest for local government election. But what I know is that the State Independent Electoral Commission have given notices for election even longer than before the Supreme Court pronouncement. Because the issue of even having a caretaker in River State was a serious and contentious issue. And the governor has been proactive to ensure that the River State Independent Electoral Commission conduct elections. Now, all those processes have come. And now, those processes have come and gone. So many things happen. You say that so many secretariats are on fire this morning. It's because somebody, he knows, Senator Bob knows what Representative Bob, he knows that his master or his friend, our friend, Yoson Wike, have set up a pathway to trouble in this state. There is a governor. Whatever is the issue between the governor and the former governor is not the issue. The issue we have here now is that the state must move forward. The state must comply with every law. The River State Independent Electoral Commission was set up by law. If you feel that the River State Independent Electoral Commission was not doing the right thing and you went to court, you don't need to take the law into your hand to ensure that you bring down the state. If you even say you listen to judgment, listen to the judgment, the other party are also going to protect and defend themselves. So that the process of marching on the street on election day that we are doing on Saturday is completely shameful. It's completely shameful.
Okay.
Let's take it like this. Let's take it like this.
Well, Senator, we need to get him to respond. We're watching the time so that we can get everybody to chip in.
Let me ask you, Chamberlain. There must be decorum if we want to continue this discussion, don't come here and abuse the governor. That is the governor of Rivers State.
We'll get your point.
I'm a Rivers man.
We'll get your
point.
point.
I don't want to sit in a forum where the image of the governor is being dragged down. No.
Yeah, we'll get your point, and I'm sure that he also gets the point.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's not the intention, but let's also hear him as we wind down on this one. So, Honorable Bob, could you just quickly, let's get your perspective on the matter as we wind down.
Thank you. I'm amused by some of the things Senator Maybai say. He talks about maybe being abusive of the governor and using language of beating to describe a governor and all the stuff that stuff he's saying. He himself just dragged the minister's name into the discussion. He said set of a situation of problem River State. How? He's basically even doing more than what he's trying to accuse me of. If I'm using language, a language he feels I shouldn't use against the governor, how the governor himself express himself? Every time he opens his mouth, what gushes out are inanities. And in church anywhere, the moment he grabs the microphone, he doesn't speak like a man who is cultured, who has any learning, who has any restraints, who has any exposure, who has any education. So I'm calling out the way it is. I don't give it down. He's a governor, all right. He doesn't own me. He doesn't own Rivers State. He doesn't every time have I. What he's doing now, what you are seeing now, what he's trying to play out is directly linked to his attitude, his psychopathic attitude of thinking that he's an emperor.
So, Honorable, just quickly before we go, what is the way forward now?
Let me finish.
What's the way forward?
The way forward is that the people are protesting against a non-election. And they have every right to do that in the democratic system. What Maybai is saying is, it doesn't make any sense to me. The people in Rivers State are protesting. First of all, the election should not have held by reason of what I just told you, because the election will comply with necessary processes leading up to it.
All right.
Now, after the so-called charade, they are continuing the protest.
All right, gentlemen, we're completely out of time, but we will need to thank both of you for talking to us. I'm sure the matter is a developing one. Now, we're going to stay on this matter. Don't you worry. We'll get back to both of you much later. Honorable Solomon Bob and Senator Lima. But thank you both for your perspective this morning. Business Morning comes up now.
Thank you so much, Chamberlain. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Business Morning on Sunrise Daily, where we do business for just about 30 minutes before we head back to the Sunrise Daily studio. It's a Monday, so we have great time to spend together. Starts from the global space, where oil prices fell on Monday after posting their steepest weekly rise in over a year last week as oversupply concerns amid softer demand countered the worries of a wider Middle East war disrupting exports in the key producing areas. We keep our eyes on the number now. We see a drop in Brent, 31 cents drop. That's about 0.4%. to $77.74 a barrel. We see the tension squeezing in there, bringing in that price. While for WTI, it's also a slip. It's 20 cents that has been shaved off to $74.18. That's 0.27%. And yes, last week was, well, a dip one for both commodities. Brent rose by 8% last week. And that's the biggest weekly gain since January 2023, while the WTI gained 9.1% week on week. That's the most since March 2023. It was on expectations that Israel could strike Iranian oil infrastructure in response to that missile that was sent to Israel on October 1. Israel bombed Hezbollah targets in Lebanon and the Gaza Strip. That happened yesterday, Sunday, ahead of a one-year anniversary, which is the major conversation today in the foreign scene. Attacks on Israel that triggered the current war between Israel and Iranian-backed militant groups. Its defense minister has said that all options were open for retaliation against Iran. Well, we'll come back home to Nigeria and look at the Naira. We saw appreciation, even though we're still in that uncomfortable zone of 1,600. So we did see a gain of 1.69%. This is obviously for Friday. This is how we closed the week last week. So it opened at 1,659 Naira 26 kobo, but closed at 1,631 Naira 21 kobo. It was a gain. But obviously we're still not in that very comfortable place. This amounts about 28 Naira naira. That's what was added at the close of trade. We also saw a gain on NAFEX, also 0.26% to close at 1,655 naira 66 kobo. That's how the naira closed. Even there was an intervention in the market on Thursday and none on Friday, but we still saw that gain at the close of trade. I'm still talking about the currency now. The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Laimi Kadusu, has been defending, I'm sure you've seen the news, where the bank's decision to implement electronic foreign exchange matching system. I wonder if we'll call this FMs or EFMs. We'll find out in due course, saying that the move is rooted in the understanding that trust is essential to central banking. Mr. Kadusu, who was addressing members of the Harvard Club of Nigeria in Lagos over this weekend, reiterates the determination to enhance transparency and provide more accurate oversight for foreign exchange transactions, while noting that containing inflation remained the bank's core mission. He acknowledged that the CBN was yet to meet its target. However, he's stressing that recent declines reported by the National Bureau of Statistics in July and August 2024 shows that the CBN was moving in the right direction. All right, let's take a break now. When we come back, of course, the program is just starting. We have conversations waiting for you right here on Business Morning on Sunrise Daily.
In Nigeria, a single change set off a chain reaction that's reshaping the nation's economy and the lives of its citizens.
When fuel subsidies were removed last year, prices at the pump surged by over 200%. But that was just the first domino to fall.
Most businesses in Nigeria are micro, mini, small, and medium scale. They are really very small. So they all rely solely on PMS as against diesel. So because they have to rely on PMS and the subsidy on PMS has been removed, so it's going to affect them. It's going to affect their cost line.
Transportation costs tripled almost overnight.
Normally, before I'll reach by Mobile, I'll have full passengers. But now we're carrying one, some are trekking.
I park my own private car to go on public buses.
Prices of things changes, like it changes unnecessarily. Even to buy one daily cup of rice, even garri serve, even oil, everything is cost.
The country is now at turbulent stage.
This triggered a rapid increase in food prices as the cost of moving goods skyrocketed.
Not long ago, we used to transport our produce from Gombe State at the cost of 400 naira per bag, but now we have to pay 1,700 naira per bag. This has really affected us a lot, and we have no option but to include the additional cost when selling to our customers.
For street vendors, the effects are dire.
Mineral, we are selling one now, it's 400 naira. Before it's 350. If you want to buy one pack now, it's 45. Our gain now is 300 naira inside the mineral, 12 pack.
Over-the-counter drugs that were once affordable appear now to be out of reach, putting lives at risk.
Our customers sometimes, for them to get some drugs that will take care of them is difficult. Because even common 1,500 malaria drugs, some people cannot afford it. Because the reason is that they will think of food first. Somebody that have not eaten cannot be taking drugs on empty stomach. And instead of that, they will tell you, just give me paracetamol. I go well, madam. Don't worry, I go well.
In the wake of the hiking prices, protesters flooded the streets, demanding relief from the soaring costs.
Cost of living, what to kill the living?
The government insists these are necessary growing pains.
The commitment to ease those pains is a very, very robust one and it is going to keep having beneficial results as we go down the road.
According to the National Bureau of Statistics, headline inflation rate eased to 32.15% in August 2024, down from 33.4% in July. However, this slight decrease appears to do little to ease the burden of skyrocketing prices across the country. The true cost of this crisis cannot be measured in Naira alone.
Some of the issues that they are bringing up would be, not being able to get transportation, to attend school. So there is low academic performance as a result of this economic challenge. Of course, for those who are in marriage, the men are complaining of not being able to provide for their families, so they are having issues with sleeping because they are wondering where they can get the next meal for their family.
In education, the hidden costs are equally alarming.
If you put too much school fees, you'll be knocked out of business if it is a business you are into. So you have to just maintain. And how do you maintain your staff when you have rising prices? So it's difficult. The thing is challenging. Government never gave any grant. I'm not aware of them giving a grant to anybody. Rather, they are taxing us on a daily basis.
As businesses waver, unemployment rises, creating a new wave of social challenges.
We have more people using drugs because they don't have a job. We have more people, going on the street now, more people wanting to rape and other forms of sexual abuse, indulge in other forms of sexual abuse and conduct disorder because they don't have a job.
As the crisis deepens, questions emerge. How much more can Nigerians endure? And at what cost to the nation's future?
If we don't address the issues right now, we're going to have an escalation and a ripple effect. And what is coming, I don't think that we are ready to handle it.
My advice to Mr. President, therefore, is to call the central bank governor and all the key stakeholders to find an alternative to policy of flotation, because we cannot practice blood flotation policy in a developing import-dependent country with subsidy removal. And I tell you, if this continues, things will only become tougher for the people.
As millions of Nigerians continue to persevere, they are hoping that beyond this period of hardship, a more secure tomorrow lies ahead. Will Ibong, Channels Television News.
The President, on behalf of the BOT, Governing Council members and entire members of the Nigerian Association of LPG Marketers, cordially invites the public and stakeholders in the liquefied petroleum gas sector to our 2024 National Conference. Theme, Sustainable Energy Growth in Nigeria, LPG and the Future. Venue, Radisson Blue Hotel, Ikeja, Lagos. Date, October 9th, 2024. Time, 9 a.m. The event will be declared open by the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Right Honorable Ekperikpe Ekpo. Guest speakers, Senator Jaribe, Chairman, Senate Committee on Gas, Mrs. Nkechi Obi, Group Managing Director, Techno Oil Limited, Mr. Ubugo Okoha, Executive Director, NMDPRA, and other distinguished speakers. Special guest, Honorable Sergius Ogun, Chairman of Panel Session. Announcer, Barrister Edu Inyang, Chairman, Organizing Committee.
So there you have it. Before that commercial break, we did see Will Ibong capturing some of the consequences of the reforms, ongoing reforms. I mean, even yesterday or over the weekend at an event, we saw the Chief of Staff telling us the mind of the President that these hard steps are necessary for a better future. But we also see the cost to the people today. Can the people survive today for the gains of these reforms tomorrow? And as Will captured in that report, it's not just about the financial report. Yes, people have to pay more for transportation. The purchasing power has reduced. Diet has changed, but also the psychological and mental pressure that all of this brings. You had the health practitioner there talking about, it seems some people are even reacting by using violence, rape, and all of that you may not directly think about. These are some of the consequences of the reforms. Will they really be worth it at the end of the day? And when is the end of the day, I wonder? So these are the questions building in the mind of Nigerians. Perhaps it's the need for more communication, more information out there, or is it the need for the people to see more sacrifices and tightening of the belt as it's now been captured by the government? Do we still see creation of portfolios? And these are individuals who will obviously be paid from the government, increasing the cost of governance in the country. Have we seen intentional attempts by members of the administration to also cut down on their expenses and perhaps feel the pain that the people are feeling? Well, these are some of the worries that Nigerians have at this time and continue to ask if the government can do or is really doing something about it. What's the timeline that we're working with? Well, that's also another one. These conversations obviously were captured at our October 1 meeting, summit is what we had here on Channels Television. And we'll stay on this issue right here on Business Morning to see different perspective to it. But more importantly, to see the way forward. Now, one other aspect is that in May, we're talking of the FX, the value of the Naira. And somebody did say, or many people have said, that if we're able to deal with the value of the Naira, then inflation and all of this, everything will at least substantially. Now, in May, the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Ms. Doris Uzoka-Anite, had said that Nigeria will commence local automobile manufacturing before the end of this year, 2024. That's in a couple of months. So one will ask, is that still feasible? She said that funds to grow the nation's automotive industry have been made available to local manufacturers. Well, let's speak to one of those local manufacturers now and see if perhaps that has been made available. Speaking to Mr. Innocent Chikuma, he's the chairman of Innocent Group of Companies and joins us virtually. Mr. Chikuma, good morning and thank you for your time.
Good morning. Good morning. Yeah.
All right, so the minister had told us, Minister of Trade had told us earlier, I think that was in May, that by the end of this year, we'll see a boost in local automotive industry. Being a player in there, are we on the path? We're just a couple of months to the end of the year. Do we see any substantial movement or action by the end of this year?
Good morning, everybody. Yes. I'm sorry, I cannot hear what you said, the last word.
Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
So I'm asking, the Minister of Trade had said by the end of this year, 2024, we would have a boost in local automotive manufacturing here, and that funds have already been made available to local manufacturers like yourself. What's the status at this time?
Yeah, this speaker.
Can you hear me, Mr. Chikuma?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, all right.
I can hear you. Yeah, the speaker of this. Yes, come again.
Can you hear me, Mr. Chikuma?
I can hear you right now.
Okay, so let me ask the question again. I'm asking if we're on our way to manufacturing cars locally in Nigeria by the end of this year.
Please, can I change this? The speaker cannot allow me to hear you very well. So that's
all right. Okay, Mr. Chikuma. All right, yes. So I think let's just take a break. See if we can still accommodate this on this. So let's take a break now, and then we'll be back. All right, having a bit of hitch there with the chairman of Innocent Group of Companies. I hope we can hear him, or he can hear us now. We could hear him before. Mr. Chikuma, can you hear me now? Could you unmute, Mr. Chikuma? Can you hear me? Mr. Chikuma, can you hear me? You are on mute. Could you unmute so I can hear you? I cannot hear you. All right, I think we have to postpone this conversation. I apologize to our viewers out there. I believe we have Mr. Muda Yusuf also on this meeting. Would like to discuss those issues raised in that report by Will Ibong, the consequences of the reforms, and perhaps there are other ways that it could have been handled, you know, and I wonder if Mr. Muda Yusuf or Dr. Muda Yusuf. Dr. Yusuf, good morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning, Nini.
Great.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you so much. So I wonder if you saw that report by Will, and sometimes we do not give thought to the non-financial consequences of the reforms, but she did bring it out there. Do you think that perhaps there are other ways of managing the consequences of the reforms, which our president has told us is a necessity for a bright future?
Well, I think the president is beginning to take some steps, you know, to manage the consequences of the reforms. And one of the steps is what the policy measures contained in the economic stabilization plan. Because all along, what we have been seeing is more of monetary policy action in terms of floating the currency, issues of high interest rates, MPC, and all of that. We are now beginning to see some, introduction of some very good fiscal policies. Because what we have said all along was that the bigger issue has to do with the cost of production, cost of logistics, cost of energy, and all of that. And we believe that the fiscal policy measures will have a much bigger impact on those elements of costs in the economy. So, I mean, we are here to see the full unveiling of the economic stabilization plan. But my guess is that a whole lot of it will be around issues of import duty, around issues of reducing taxation and all of that. So if you can have more of that to reduce the cost of production, cost of operation for businesses, I think that will go a long way. You know, so that we will we reduce the social consequences of the reforms on the citizens. And we also need to check, you know, how far we go with issues of this use of market forces, because we need to define boundaries. There are some elements of policies of some challenges in the economy that the market cannot address. So we should watch out for what we call market failure. Where there are evidence of market failure, the state has a responsibility to intervene. That is the way it works in a market economy. So these are the things that we need because the reform is not perfect. So we need to fine-tune it as we progress. That, for me, I think is the way to go.
You know, the thing about the plans and the policies is a scary one. For instance, the withholding tax on small businesses. I mean, we were done with that conversation like months ago, and we're just hearing that it's been gazetted before it begins implementation. So for this plan, this stabilization plan, we learned it's supposed to start by January next year. But, you know, sometimes the process of even getting through with the bureaucracy and then to begin to talk about implementation before we think about the impact on the economy, looking at policy gap, which is normal, you know, it means that some people are asking, will Nigerians be alive to even see the impact?
No, you see, the government needs to work. The government needs to work a lot more on implementation. because the implementation lag is extremely too long. It's too long. Because, I mean, for us to have any effective impact of policy, on whether small businesses or even on the citizens, even if the policies are good, as we have seen with some of these policies around food, around pharmaceuticals, the implementation lag is too long. So something has to happen within the apparatus of policy implementation. I know there's a unit in the presidency charged with monitoring and evaluation and all of that, but that unit has to do a lot more. Because take the instance of the policy on the pharmaceuticals. You know, this policy was announced in June to reduce the import duty on medical equipment, pharmaceutical raw materials, and even eliminate those duties completely, and with some other positive policy measures. This was announced in June. As recently as a few weeks ago, this policy is here to be implemented. So we need to ensure quick implementation of policy. And when we have these policy measures, because of the urgency of the moment, we need to reduce the bureaucracy in terms of the guidelines. Some of the guidelines that the bureaucrats put on the way of operators in the economy slows down the process. So we need to also examine the guidelines to ensure that the guidelines are not such that will make it difficult for the policies to be implemented on time. Because normally we have all manner of guidelines that constitute major impediments to implementation, to access of some of these policy measures, even some incentives. The guidelines are so bureaucratic that you can be on it for 2-3 months. So these are some of the things I think the government also need to reform. You know, the policy, translating the policies into actions.
Dr. Yusuf, would that involve the lawmakers, the Senate and House of Reps?
Well, that may involve them. That is the implementation. I'm talking of the issues, those ones that requires legislative action. There are some policy measures that doesn't require legislative action. So that is where we need to call out the bureaucrats to ensure that the bureaucratic bottlenecks are reduced. I think that is also an issue. We need to also work on that, because this stabilization bill now, some elements of which will require some legislative action. You know, so those things are very important. And in any case, for even the things to go through, we also need to have some further stakeholder engagement. I know that the Taiwo Daily Committee had consulted quite a number of few people, but by the time we see the full bill, there may be need for further consultation with stakeholders.
All right.
So that will be happening at the level of public hearing.
All right.
All of these things need to be accelerated.
All right, Dr. Muda Yusuf, Chief Executive Officer of CPPE, thank you so much for your time and your views this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll head over back now to the Sunrise Daily Studio. We'll see at 1 p.m. Ladi will be here, I'll be here, and we'll take you around the world of business in 55 minutes. Join us then.
Welcome back. Yes, indeed, we've got Mr. Abutu Yaro joining us this morning. He's a former Assistant Inspector General of Police. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so I know you heard a thing or two about the just concluded elections that happened on Saturday in Rivers State. But before that election, the governor wasn't exactly happy with the conduct of the police. So here is part of what he said about what he thought was going on about the police. Let's have you listen to it.
We came here this morning when we heard that according to what they call themselves, Nigerian police, are coming to take over the premises of Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission. And I had to come myself to find out why would such a thing happen. From what I heard, that one DC operation brought them here to withdraw policemen that are already here protecting this place, so that new officers will take over the place. But I have to say this on a very strong note. We've been taking enough nonsense from this institution. Everybody is aware of the court judgment. And even the judgment as they call it, the ruling. Did the ruling specify anywhere that election should not hold? He said, don't give voters register. What are we doing with it? Okay, police, don't provide security. Don't provide security. Is this the same thing as blocking the election? I don't know what the relationship between Inspector General of Police and one person who claims he has so much power in this state. I don't know the relationship, because it's beginning to go beyond the normal professional relationship. I said the government wrote a letter with the judgments that we have to him, and what he's acting on is what he called the federal government, the judgment he got from the Federal High Court. Even at that, if we should go by that, if the judgment in the Federal High Court, did he say election should be bad? Lifu, that's that justice that gave that fraudulent judgment. Did he say no election? Rather, he technically said, don't provide. We don't need your security. We will provide our own security. After all, it happened in Anambra. Go away with your security. But this election must hold. If you like whatever it is you want to do, do it. The election result will be declared. People will be sworn in. I say it here. What kind of a country is it? And when it comes to the issue of Rivers State, it becomes different. You're not ashamed of yourself. You call yourself Inspector General of Police.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough. I will be here. In fact, if I go back and I hear anybody, I will come here. This is my property.
Mr. Yaro, I don't know what the police would think about this if they were listening at that point in time. I know that the first PRO did respond to at least the accusation of bias, saying, listen, we're just obeying court order. But people listening to that would definitely think, what is going on with the Nigerian police concerning River State? I know you used to be in that position, but of course, you still have a call or two with some of your colleagues there. Could you explain to us what could have gone wrong here?
Well, I thank you for the question. As you rightly said, presently I'm outside the system. And it will be improbable for me, who is outside the system, to have exact idea with respect to the policy idea that informed the kind of directive that the last speaker is talking about. But certainly, even if things are in the way that have just been explained, I believe that leadership communication is supposed to hold sway in this kind of circumstance. Leadership communication has its own unique platform. It has its own unique lingo, and it has its own unique confidentiality. And I believe that could have taken care of the issues and concerns raised. Because why we say this is strategic communication is key, and it's a requirement for people in strategic leadership. And no matter how odd the situation may seem to be, the means of conveying the discomfort or the concern is imperative to to people in strategic leadership. I'm not in position to say what really informed the decision of the police authority, but assuming that I'm in the system, I would have advised the last speaker to be more consultative in his outburst. That is my reaction to the question.
So if you were to, advise the last speaker, who we see in the image as the governor now, would you have, what would you have told him? What, to let's say call through to the IGP or what?
Good, that is the strategic communication I'm talking about. I would have put a call through, and I would have discussed extensively the issues at stake, and the IG would have provided its own insight into what is on the ground, and the executive governor would have as well ironed out most of the issues and concerns therein. It was needless, in my view, for people in strategic level of governance to express discomfort in the way we have seen it.
So from the look of things now, because that his perspective, his submissions there, several people, notwithstanding what the police had said, that we are just obeying court order. But you will have people in the state who will now feel that the police is clearly against them, and that may consciously or unconsciously inform the decisions and their attitude and disposition towards the police, which may not be friendly moving forward, don't you think?
Well, we have to exercise some caution in this dialogue and interpreting this scenario. Why the caution is necessary is that we shouldn't create a situation that will have a kind of impact in other similar circumstances in our country in the future. We must act in circumspect in all situations, no matter how odd. And it will be very, very suicidal of us as leaders of this country when we begin to make public aspersion on our national security apparent elements. And the police is one of the major fulcrum of national security apparatus. If the issue being discussed is not handled in circumspect, it might degenerate to elsewhere in the country, and such situation in future may present itself, and we may succeed, maybe unintentionally, in creating an incited nationhood against the national police. And I believe that at this level of our national development, it is needless. Nation building is of key essence for those of us in leadership, no matter whose ox is God. And off or internal communication is very, very, very important in management, particularly management at a higher level. Internal communication is very, very key, so that we don't create a dysfunctional society or we don't escalate our disgust with some of our national institutions.
Well, you certainly are no stranger to police having found itself in the middle sometimes when it would appear that authorities or some authorities in Abuja are, not in good terms or on good terms with the governors of their states. And we see that sometimes how this is felt in the states is through the use of the police. River State has gone through this over and over again. You saw it during the time of CP Mbu and how the governor there was constantly crying foul. And this is what we're witnessing again. I mean, I don't know whether this has ever come up for discussion within the ranks of the police, or what I say within the authorities of the police, the hierarchy of the police, and how they've been able to, say that the police must behave whenever it is they find themselves potentially in such a situation. Has there been any sort of discussion where it would appear that the police does feel like, it has found itself in a position that could put its operations in jeopardy? How have policemen been advised to behave?
Thank you. It's an evolving situation. The Umbus era was not even the first. Let us take our mind back historically. As far back as 1962, similar situation or scenario happened in Western Nigeria during the crisis between the late premier of Western Nigeria and the leader of opposition in the federal parliament, the late Saj, the eminent chief of Afembi Awol, arising from 1959 election. Akintola was the premier, and Awolo, being the leader of opposition, actually operating at the federal level in Lagos, and issues of relating to structure system, subordination, authority, and local level coordination arose. And it had a concomitant effect in the Western House of Assembly. When the House became divided, it later affected the fact that the premier formed a new political party, New Nigeria Democratic Party, NNPP, and left the action group until it cascaded into the Operation Wetier and all the national cataclysm that followed. So elements of it has been studied in the police cycle and the security system all over. We are seeing scenarios similar to that, and we have been discussing and ensuring that there's no repeat occurrence in the way and manner so described between 1962 to 1965. The important thing in all this discussion is that the political gladiators need to exercise absolute restraint so as not to draw police into the center of their controversies. And the moment we avoid restraint, it will not all go well for everybody concerned. Certainly, what you are seeing is not the first in our country. I've given you an example of the era of the early 60s, or between 60 to 65. It's still a study in security management. It's still a study of the symbiosis of political aggression and security management. Is still a study of preservation of national security vis-a-vis personal interest. But the bottom line of it all is that we need to have restraint on the part of the political leadership. And not only political leadership, even on the police leadership. We wouldn't be comfortable for police to become a whipping boy of political drama. It has happened before, but it's not to the best interest of our country. But we have been studying it at the police level, and we have been applying experience and professionalism to get along the way. But as I can say in this respect, it's still work in progress. And I believe that we're going to come out of this better, stronger, and we'll learn our lessons. When I mean our lessons, I mean all of us. It's an all society approach, not only the police approach alone, all society, the political class, the police class, the ordinary class, and even the media class. Because we need to do much more than we're doing for us to have a better Nigeria in terms of security management vis-a-vis political interest.
Well, the elections went ahead and they held. We understand that the police eventually, the new CP that was sent to the state eventually unsealed the local government of, let's say, the River State Independent Electoral Commission, RISIEC, and the elections held as planned. We heard the governor yesterday when he was swearing in local government chairman, thanking the president. It's unclear what role the president played, but I imagine that perhaps the president, whatever role the president played, might have been through the police. So do you want to tell us, I know you say you're not in the system, but I certainly know that, you know, you're not within the system officially. It doesn't mean that you didn't, you know, also follow, because you said that the governor could have engaged more strategically. Do you think that there were some backroom discussions that now eventually yielded fruit?
Certainly. You discover that the outbursts started coming down in hours or moment that followed. And I think it's an evidence that a lot of behind-the-back communication and consultation must have taken place. And the fact, too, is that in all things that happen in our national life, the president is the father of the country. He's not only just the political leader of the country, he's the father of the country. So all matters that occurs and the ones they are taken care of, certainly, if all our life, apart from God Almighty, the next authority that takes care of our life is the president of our country. So if every problem is solved, well, certainly, we must always be appreciative of the presence and the role of the president. It's not only this one, any matter. Once you are able to get issues resolved, certainly, we must always give thanks to our president and God Almighty. So I believe that giving thanks to the president is essential in all circumstances, not even only this one, because he's the father of the nation, politics aside.
But Mr. Yarrow, does it then mean, having seen the way the elections went in Rivers, many are now saying, wait a minute, so that means when we hear the police say we're going to deploy 5,000 for Edo elections, 4,000 for Bayelsa and things like that. So with this one, we don't actually need all these 5,000, 4,000 that they've been deploying all the while.
31,000.
For next elections, or even 31,000?
Yeah, 31,000, 34,000.
Sometimes 31, 34,000. So we don't need all those thousands anymore, Mr. Yarrow, do we?
Very much. Like I disclosed at a certain forum before now, we must take cognizance of one thing. If not that we Nigerians, we have a different perception about election management. Ideally, election is supposed to be a normal democratic exercise that does not require police or military enhancement, so to speak. There are many countries in Africa that are almost our size in terms of population and landmass. For example, the second most populous country in Africa, apart from Nigeria, Ethiopia, anytime they are doing an election, you don't see police and military build-up as we do in our country. The third most populous country in Africa is Egypt. Anytime they conduct election, you don't see police build-up as ours. It calls for some level of deep concern. And it really makes us to be at the butt of jokes of other countries. We need to de-emphasize that. And de-emphasizing that is a function on how we, the ordinary people and the political class, perceives election. The moment we begin to hype up election, we begin to create imaginary and real violent scenario, then the massive police and military bureau for election will automatically result. That is not healthy for our country, and it's not healthy for our democracy. Apart from we who are the underdeveloped countries, the developed countries, any day they are doing election, you don't see people in uniform carrying rifle here and there. So we need to actually do a kind of introspection. We, the Nigerians, we, the political actors, Why is it that we deploy police platforms, resources, manpower solely for election? And this is a phenomenon that others always accomplish without much ado. It therefore means that we Nigerians, we must, as a matter of fact, do some introspection. Are we on the right way? Are we doing it like others? Even then, what we are doing, is that what was bequeathed to us by our forefathers? Even the less developed countries around us, is that how they conduct election? So the point has to be made. We don't really need to deploy and bring a lot of police resources and platform for election. If only we, the people of Nigeria and the political actors, operate with the mindset of sanity. And we need to, in order to give credence to our practice of democracy, militarizing election or making it to be a police operational scene, it is really unnecessary. And I think this dimension is being created by the political class, who most of the time come to election with objectives that are different from noble. We need to do further research into that area.
Just before we go, do you think this scenario damages the call for state police?
Well, of course, at this forum last year, I said it, that the creation of state police will be the beginning of our Armageddon in our country. That will be the journey to complete lawlessness. And the reason they talk for this is because the political class mindsets about election, control of the coercive internal security mechanism, their mindset about it is less than noble. That is the issue. I said it before. The police system we have on the ground is functional and relevant. But because a good number of the political actors want a circumvented arena.
So what if we say, if we are to create that, only federal police will be involved in elections? How about that?
Look, it is even possible. Why not we create election environment without police?
Yeah, it's a gradual step, isn't it?
It's possible. Other countries run election without police. Have you ever seen British police following election materials? You are a journalist, you see it around, you know more. You can do a cross analysis. Have you seen British police or American police following election materials? Why are we like this? Why can't we change? We need to de-emphasize the use of police.
Yeah, but shouldn't the police also begin from looking inwards? The way they might handle people on the road, the normal stop and check, and you know.
Not we, the political class that is making the election to be a kind of a mini warfare. Election is supposed to be like a normal day. You cast your vote, you go for your normal business, results are released. And police continue to do their normal work within the parameter of the constitutional expectation, which is patrolling, monitoring citizens, doing stop and search. And if there's an infringement of processes and events, they draw their attention to it. We need to review what we have been doing.
All right, well, thank you for talking to us this morning. Mr. Abutu Yaro is a former Assistant Inspector General of Police.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
So, let's see, do we have any messages?
Yes, I see a few.
Okay, so unfortunately, I don't think they're ready yet, but we'll see them. But I guess we'll find time to also take them. Festus and Prof. Anaina, we thank you as always for your messages. Well, that is the show today. We thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. I'm Chamberlain Uso. Goodbye.
Well, we know that the situation in Rivers is still a developing one in spite of the fact that local government chairmen have been sworn in. Our correspondents on the ground there keeping tabs on the situation, and we certainly will be keeping you updated. So do stay with us on the news and also with Politics at Noon. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Malcolm Yusuf.